you're going to want to know about this one. Okay, this one, well, first, welcome back to Geeking Out, everybody. This is like episode, what, 4, 5? We're still getting over the dumpster fire from the last episode.
I don't even know what's happening
As you can see, this is the extended wear shirt here. But anyway,
I hate to know what he has planned here.
I wanted to do one more quick episode before we wrap things up for this week. Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah.
Okay. What is there anything on the planet nerdier than Dungeons and Dragons? And I'm not talking about the video games. I'm not talking about the card games. I'm not talking about... I mean, sit there with the book and a piece of graph paper and try to keep track of your stats by hand with a pencil. Is there anything nerdier than that?
Well,
the correct answer is no. Nothing is nerdier than Dungeons and Dragons. The Dungeons and Dragons became the subject of a BBC interview recently about a girl in Britain, a teenage girl, who is all upset because nobody wants to play Dungeons and Dragons with her. She says Dungeons and Dragons is not inclusive enough. That's the way I reacted. See?
This is a joke.
No, this is not a joke. This is not a joke, okay? This is legit. This actually happened back about a week ago. This is in London. There's a group of nerds, okay? A group of nerds in London. They get together. They're playing Dungeons and Dragons. Old school Dungeons and Dragons. This is like you got one guy with the Dungeon Master, and he's sitting there with his book, and he's making it up as he goes along. He has a general plot line he follows. And all the other people around, including this girl, are there, and they're playing this game, and everybody's basically goofing off and stuff. Because Dungeons and Dragons is one of those things, back before being a nerd was cool, being a nerd was extremely uncool. So nerds had to learn how to stick together, and one of the ways they got together and made friends with one another was by playing games, like Dungeons and Dragons. Well, it turns out that this girl... Nobody wanted... Everybody... They threw her out of the gaming session. They want nothing more to do with her. She's saying it's because she's a girl and they're being sexist and they're not being inclusive enough. And by golly, this group of Dungeons and Dragons nerds should be forced to accept her into their little group. Your reaction?
Okay. First of all, okay, so she wants to be accepted into the group. So why is she going after Dungeons and Dragons people? Like, is she going after the company, or whoever that created the games?
She's saying it builds a toxic, male-centric culture. It's all male-oriented, see, because you sit there and you're fighting instead of sitting down over tea and working things out like a female would, according to this girl. So what do you think?
I think that there might be something more to this than just what she says. And the only reason why I say that is because I've never played it, but I know a lot of people that has. And there's male and female, and everybody just sitting there playing this game. And there are some people that takes this game way too serious. And like if if this person lays down a card and it like defeats whatever it is that they got, they go like and all that stuff. So I think that there's something way more, because let me tell you something. If there is a bunch of geeks sitting around the table playing card games and they have a chance for a female to join in, they're not going to kick her out.
Hold on, wait a minute. Good boy, you finally figured it out. There is no way in hell a bunch of nerds going to turn away. They're not going to throw a girl out.
No
Let me explain what happened. Your Uncle Spike's going to tell you a bedtime story, because most of you are going to be asleep by the time you're done with this. Okay? When I was in the Army back around Desert Storm, after we got back from Desert Storm, of course, we're in the middle of a war zone. It kind of brings people together. So I come back, and I've got a bunch of friends and stuff I've made. We're all in the same unit. We decided we're going to get together. We're going to play Dungeons and Dragons because I'd never played it before. I knew of it, but I never actually played it. So I would sit in on their sessions, watch how things worked, listen to how they operated with each other, how the dungeon master did it. I came up with an idea for a dungeon, okay? And it was just going to be a simple little dungeon. It was going to take maybe between an hour and a half. That's typical for Dungeons and Dragons session, okay? It's going to take about an hour or so. My first dungeon, everything's cool. Okay, and everybody's down with it because I'm going to have about like 5 guys playing in this dungeon. And I'm going to be sitting here controlling things as they go along, okay? So understand, 4 of these guys, all 6 of us are nerds, okay? It's a half dozen nerds in a pack. Some of us are more into comic books, some are more into video games. We're all into Dungeons and Dragons. 4 of the guys understand this is, I mean, all 5 know this is my first attempt at creating a dungeon, okay? My first attempt at being a dungeon master. So, the 4 of them, they sit down and they take, here's the other thing about Dungeons and Dragons nerds, they keep books of characters they've created, and the more they play them, as they're successful and, don't die, they do what's called leveling up. They get a little stronger, a little more talented, a little more skilled, and they build their characters up. So you can go up into like level 10, level 20, level 50, level 100. The sky's the limit. It's how much experience does this character have, okay? So 4 of them, they go in and they pick like their starter characters. The ones that need experience. It's almost like, I'm not even going to say you young'uns because you young'uns don't play Pokemon anymore, but in Pokemon, you get a new monster, you have to put it into battle and at least give it a little exposure so that it gains experience and levels up. It's exactly the same thing as Dungeons and Dragons. So 4 of these guys, they take some of their weaker characters and put them in because they know I'm not going to do anything to hurt them. I don't want anybody to die. I mean, there's a possibility that the characters will die, but I don't know anything about leveling, setting to the level and stuff. So the 4 guys, they come in, they've got their weak mages, they've got their weak fighters, their weak druids, and they come in and we start going along. Those 4 are having a good time. The 5th one, the asshole in the group, okay? That's what happened to this girl. The 5th one, he brings in his level 56 dwarf, okay? Now understand, my first dungeon, okay? Basically, I'm a level 1 dungeon master. I've created, essentially, a level 1 dungeon. The other guys are all playing like level 1, level 2, level 3 characters. This guy brings in level 56, okay? You ever hear Superman give the world of cardboard speech? Never heard of that. Okay, I got to cover that sometime or another, but I won't cover it right now. Imagine you're sitting there, you've put together, not even Legos, you've put together a bunch of little building blocks, the wooden ones with the letters on it, and you sit there and you build this little tower and this little building, and you've got this little house, and everybody, your friends come along, they got their little characters, and they're bouncing around in there, and then all of a sudden, frickin' Galactus steps on it, pisses all over everybody, and then sits there and farts in your face before he takes off to eat another planet, okay? That's what happened in my one experience in dungeon mastering. Never dungeon mastered again. And I sure as hell never played with that guy again. So this one guy with his level 56, he takes his level 50, not even level 56, it's like level 100 acts of murder or something, and he's slicing through walls, for God's sake. I didn't even know walls had hit points. He did, and he made sure I knew about it. So he taught me, well, you can't tell me I can't chop through the walls because walls have X number of points, and my plus 14 acts of murder can chop right through it. And everybody's like, come on, dude, leave him alone. This is his first try. Why are you beating on him like this? Asshole. The other 4, not me, okay, not me as Dungeon Master, the other 4 finally threw his ass out. They said, no, we're not playing anymore. And they actually apologized to me for it. And they said, we're sorry you went through this. But getting back to it, this girl sounds to me, if she's whining, okay, now hold on. She's not whining to her girlfriends, because she has no friends. She's not whining to her boyfriends, because God knows she doesn't have any boyfriends, because she plays Dungeons and Dragons. She doesn't have any nerd friends anymore, because she's pissed them all off. She runs to the frickin' BBC! And not only that, but she manages to find the one idiot at the BBC who has had even less of a social life than she had. And this turned into a BBC news report. On BBC Three, no less. This actually hit the air in Britain as a legit news report.
Well, that is redundant. And second...
That is redonkulous, is what that is. I always wondered what that was. Now I know what redonkulous means.
And second, God, you're a nerd.
Yes. Yes, I am. The sexiest nerd you know.
Oh, boy, here we go.
Just look at this.
No,
you
yeah,
just want to
this
right here,
Ew. Ew.
So anyway, bottom line is, you're right on that one. I actually gave you a head pet on that one because you actually figured it out. Bottom line, girl, you're wrong. This. Dungeons and Dragons is the nerdiest thing ever. And, hey, Chris. Till next time, I'm Spike. That's what's left of Chris. We'll see you next time. What?